Can you change your practice to a regular session?
It's doing it right.
Webinars that or meetings that we've been on. It's just this is a separate camera set up away from the fly camera so that we can talk about materials when we need and so forth. And in fact, the two materials you see there are the ones that we'll be using tonight in the fly pattern. Now let me do a new share, and we're just going to go over, by the way, just let me back out of there for a second. Does that look like it's in focus, and does it look okay to you, Sandy?
It looks great, Al.
Okay, good. Let's go to a new share. We'll go to the fly. I'll click on the fly and share. And this is, you should recognize it by now, Sandy. This is what we call a focus fly.
Yep.
And it just tells us whether we're in focus and whether the exposure and so forth is correct. Does that look okay to you as well?
That looks really good.
Okay, good. Then we'll go back to another new share. We'll go down here to.
And Al,
Yes.
One of our panelists came in on a chat and said it looks really good to the panelists too.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Okay, thank you, Mary Beth, for keeping us on track. I appreciate that.
Yes, and I've got a good thing we're getting started here now, because I've got one item that I need to duck out and find. It seems to have disappeared while we were working back and forth here. So I'm going to stop share. And now we're back to all of you, and you can chat for a minute while I duck off and look for something else.
Okay. So we have 18 participants. Okay. Justin F. says, it looks great. You guys are awesome. Thank you for hanging in with the time confusion. I'm sorry, everybody. Switching from Thursday to Tuesday, switching from 7 to 6:30 caused some confusion. So I'll make sure that all the messages that come out are consistent in the future, but put on your calendars. The Zoom code will be the same. It will be 6:30. And then you're going to post the books if people want to order, Al?
I surely will, yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And then we'll just do another welcome when the other group that got a different time came in. Okay, you can duck out. How's the weather there, Gretchen?
Beautiful. Gorgeous.
Yeah, gorgeous day today. Did you have a lot of rain before?
We had a lot of rain and a lot of cool weather, and my raspberries loved it, but now they're coming on gangbusters, so yeah. I'm going to be messing with raspberries the next few days. Working in the yard. I had a fight with my garbage can yesterday and hurt my hand.
Yeah, she's got one hand right now. Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
And we had Mary Beth got she saw the books posted before, and she got them on Kindle.
Oh good.
And she must have ordered enough that Kindle gave her one for free.
Holy criminy, I didn't know they'd do that.
So, and I got them on Kindle also, because then my book is always with me. When
That's
we go
good,
back and
yeah.
forth.
We noticed that last month there were quite a few Kindle orders. We had a lot of orders, so people.
Great. Yeah, they're. I highly recommend. See, and we're still having people trickle in.
Now we've got 19. It says we've got 18 now.
Yeah.
And I'm having some trouble here. I'm kind of hung up in the screen share mode. I don't know why, but I am.
Let's see. Let me see if there's anything that I can do as the host. Oops, I still haven't changed my name. Sorry. Let me change my name. I am not Patrick Berry. Sandy. He should look so good, even though I didn't get a chance to put my lipstick on yet. All right, there we go. Rename. All right, I'm renamed. Can I help with the sharing more? Raise hand, active speaker, gallery view. Yeah, it doesn't look like I can do anything on my end. Let's see, can I do a stop share here? More. Okay, somebody says, I think when Al takes control, it works with 2 screens. Do you have control now, Sandy? There we go. It's me now. But we lost Al. This is the first time doing a webinar with Al and Gretchen. Oh no, I'm froze. There you are. So
Okay, we're back.
This was supposed to be our practice time. So
Thank God it is. Let's see.
The 18, 19 folks get to put up with this.
Okay, well, anyway,
we're regular start time.
We're getting, we're at a point right now where I think I'd like to go ahead and just share a little trick with everyone that is totally independent from tonight's presentation, but it's semi-related. And you'll notice when we get further into tonight's presentation, we're going to talk about the Lafontaine theory of attraction. Well, separate from what we're doing tonight, another part of his theory of attraction is a process in dubbing and fly tying called double magic. And that's what we're going to work on right now. Now I'm going to do a screen share and get over here and pick up my fly. Okay, there's the, do you see the fly, Sandy?
Yes, I do.
Okay, good. Now I can take that out and we'll get to set a hook in there. So I'll move the
participants, everybody see the fly?
It's gone now. I've got a hook back.
Yep.
I'm putting a hook in now.
Yeah, it's beautifully clear.
Okay, good. That's what I wanted to know. Because the thing we run into often is fly tyers, where commercial fly tyers, is not whether we're tying a fly that's a presentation fly. We have to tie a fly that looks good, but yet holds together for the customer. And one of the techniques that we've learned that's very, very helpful with a product that's really fragile is peacock. And so what I'm doing, you'll see the same process a little bit later this evening when we go to the actual fly, but I am tying several peacock curls on this hook at the front. I'll get this, there we go. And I'll just kind of bind them into place. Now, I just got that all bound into place. Now, I want you to notice that I have the peacock curls tied in by their tips, and that the thread is at the front with the peacock curls. Now, I'm going to bring those peacock curls around so that the thread and the curls are all parallel, and I'm just going to wrap all together, making each subsequent turn closer to the back of the hook. What you end up with is a reasonably good looking peacock body that's tough as it's bullet tough, because it has the thread wound right into the hurls. And what you're doing as you wrap to the back, you are creating a peacock chenille, and I'll just anchor that and trim off the waist.
Can you hold something white behind that so they can see it?
Something white behind it so they can see it.
Yeah. There. That's good, good, good.
Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, the double magic part, oh, we got to turn on all these lights. We got this practice session and I forgot to turn on my lights. Okay.
We had a question, how many how many peacock hurls did you tie
Don't get
in?
blinded. All we're doing is turning on another dozen lights.
How many peacock curls did you?
I used 8. Is that now
Thank
that's
you
showing up?
for
Isn't it?
the white background suggestion.
Okay, good. Well, what we're going to do now is we still are not done making this fly bulletproof or this body bulletproof, but we're going to bring the double magic into play. And I have to temporarily move the fly to the side so I have more room for putting the dubbing on my thread so you can see that. So don't get seasick as that thing goes to the side, because I need the space out to the front here to actually put wax on my thread. And I have dubbing wax here. We'll talk about that later this evening on the proper use of the dubbing wax. But I want you to take note that the wax is not sticking way up above the top of the tube. If it's up like that, you're headed for trouble. You want your wax only sticking up above the edge of the tube, equal to about a double thread width. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a bunch of lumps all over the thread. You don't want that. Now, I'm just making the thread sticky, not putting clumps of wax on it. I'll set that wax aside. And I'm going to use an orange dubbing. And we'll talk about that color later when we talk about the theory of attraction. But for now, I'm just going to do a process called touch dubbing. And I want you to notice that when I touch the dubbing to the thread, that you can see the fibers are sticking there. And that's what the wax is doing its job. And in this particular process, this is called the Lafontaine method of touch dubbing. And we'll show you another method of touch dubbing when we get to the actual pattern for tonight. But for here, now you would think if we just wrap that, it would fall off. In fact, when Gary showed me this trick back in the mid 80s, I said, "Oh, Gary, that'll just come off. That'll never stay on." He says, "Wait, you'll be surprised." And I was. And here's what we do now is we're going to advance the thread forward like a rib. And I want you to notice the highlights appearing all around the body. That's the double magic. It's the magic of peacock and the magic of the highlights. And we'll talk about what those highlights mean when we get into the theory of attraction later. Okay, I'll get to trim off that.
If there are some participants that just joined, because I see our numbers are going up, there was some miscommunication of the timing. You didn't miss a thing.
We weren't tying a fly.
Yeah.
We were just giving you an idea what double magic looks like.
Yep. So we're just keep announcing that,
Now,
Al, as
do
we
you
go
really
through in
think
case
that,
people thought.
that makes any difference?
Yeah.
I really thought, I said, "Gary, you know, that's really a cool idea, but does it do anything?" He says, "Try it." I can tell you right now for a fact, it has revolutionized Gretchen's and my fly patterns in our personal fly boxes. Does it look cool in a fly shop, in the box for sale? No, you don't sell many of these, but if you're interested in catching fish, once we talk about the theory of attraction and you see what double magic is, you'll know. Now, Gretchen, why don't you take us out of screen share, and we'll be back with Sandy, and I'll get my focus fly back there.
I'll
Looks
put
like
my
we
face
lost
back
Sandy.
on. There we go. I see we're up to 23. If anybody
Do we
joined,
still have other?
Yep.
Oh, Sandy's there.
I'm here. Now we're up to 24 panelists. If you joined,
Sandy cannot be heard.
uh-oh, you can't hear me? Mute,
Oh.
unmute. Can you hear me now?
I can hear it.
I can't.
Uh-oh.
Is my this came unplugged.
Okay, Mary Beth can hear me.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay.
I had a problem. You ought to see the kludge of cords, and in fact, tonight when we talk about our setup for doing Zoom, you're going to see some of the cords that we use just to get the lights in here. We're not even talking about all the microphones and stuff. It's this little 10 by 10 room has got cords draped everywhere. So anyway, my microphone cord came unplugged.
Okay, So we now have 24 participants. If you are a new participant coming in, we had some confusion with the time. And so we just went ahead and did some tips and tricks. We have not started a fly. The official program starts at 6:30. We'll do an official welcome at 6:30. And so Al and Gretchen are just showing us a few things right now. And don't worry that you missed anything. You missed nothing.
Al keeps coming unplugged. I got to get him to stay still and not roll around in his chair.
Well, if I start talking, Gretchen, and he doesn't hear me, which is so unusual.
Yeah, he kept talking over you, and I couldn't figure out why. And I guess it's because he couldn't hear you.
He couldn't hear me. No.
Yeah.
Well, we're good. We're good to go now, at least for the moment. So, I guess
We have 8 minutes. So, do you want to show another tip and trick for 8 minutes?
Boy, I didn't have one prepared.
Oh.
Oh,
but
you could come up with something.
oh, I will. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to come up with, but
Well, you could.
oh, I got one.
You want to straighten this hair?
Huh?
You want to straighten this hair?
Yeah, there's one we're going to get to next week. And let me move our fly to the side again. Why don't you do a screen share, Gretchen, and get me back on the fly?
Justin F says, do a card trick.
I don't know who Justin F is, but I'd sure like to chat with him offline. Okay, I'm going to move this back to the side, Gretchen, like we did before, because it's a common problem that people run into when they're tying with hair. And I have a bundle of hair right here. And it looks pretty good, but I want you to notice that the hair fibers have got a curve in them. And anybody that has hair that's not straight finds that it doesn't stack real well. Well, you know, I would say probably more hair packages in fly shops are crooked or curved than are straight. And we'll talk about that more when we get into next week. But for right now, let me show you a little trick. Now I'm going to lay this hair down so I can take a bundle of it out and then I'll bring it back on camera. Now, when you cut that off, what you don't want to do is try to clean out all the fibers. Can you see this, Gretchen?
Yep.
Okay. You just want to hold it the way it came right off the hide. Now I'm going to turn this around so that the curve is going to the right.
Down lower.
Down lower. Okay, great. Thanks, Gretchen. What I'm going to do now is a trick that salmon fly tiers use all the time to make their golden pheasant toppings fit when they're not quite curved the right way. And what they do is they put a series of crimps in the outside of the curve to straighten the feather out somewhat. Not a lot, but somewhat. Well, I'm going to use that same principle, thumbnail, forefinger from the left hand, to put a series of crimps on the outside. And as you can see now, the fibers are fairly straight. The ones that aren't straight, I'm going to go off camera for a moment, clean out the underfur. And there's a few that aren't straight, and the ones that aren't straight, okay, that's why God gave you fingers, is to get rid of them. And then they go into the stacker, and a bundle of hair that wouldn't have stacked worth a darn before will stack up to make a pretty nice application on the hook. And enough for that. Have I killed enough time, Sandy?
Yep. So we have 34 panelists now. If you just joined us, there was a misunderstanding at the tie. So we had on the time, we had people joining us early. So this is just little tips and tricks. You did not miss anything. We're going to wait until, 4 more minutes. We're going to wait until 6:30, and then we'll do the introduction and some housekeeping, and I'll reintroduce you. So if everybody, I apologize if you came in early, that you have to wait here while everybody else comes in. And so just so everybody knows, the next for Tuesdays, it will be at 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, 6:30 Mountain, 5:30 Pacific. And so you will be muted, and you'll be sitting waiting for me to open it up. Yeah, we're up to 39 participants. Oh, and so, yep, everybody can hear.
Made weights from the book.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, somebody made weights from the book.
Oh,
They wanted weight. They made weights for the book.
From
yeah,
the
she
book.
said she has something to show.
Oh,
Well, maybe Al, we will we'll talk about doing maybe the last one a Zoom meeting, and people can bring their flies and go back to where we can. Al, Gretchen, and I, because this is a webinar, we cannot see or hear any of you. So you need to communicate by the Q&A. You need to communicate by the chat. So hang on to those weights.
Sandra,
Yes.
maybe she could send us a text with a picture and we can see the weights, and she can send it to my cell phone at 208-861-8802.
There you go. Did you get that? We have a couple more minutes. We're up to 44 participants.
Oh, good. Keep an eye on your phone. It'll be interesting about the weights, because what we usually do with the books that, well, we do books with Amazon, and they have a hard spine, which you have to lay a brick on them to keep them open if you're going to be tying flies from the book. What we offer to our customers is a service that for $5, if you buy the book from us, we'll cut the spine off and install a spiral binding. Or you can go to Staples, and we've already checked, and their price varies based on the size of the book, between $8 and $10 to put on a spiral binding. So that might be something for you to consider. It sure makes it a lot nicer if you're using a paper version of the book to lay it open and study from it. However, the other side of the coin is the ebook version. You can just lay your tablet right by your tying station and flip from screen to screen as you need.
Okay, 50%, and we have one more minute before 6:30, and then usually I let a little bit of time, so 51 participants. Al's putting his lipstick on. That's good. I still got to jump out and get mine on.
Oh,
Looking good, Al. Looking good.
Go ahead and jump out there, young lady. You can go right ahead.
Get my drink. 51.
Oh, it was funny. We were on a Zoom call here several weeks ago, and I won't say who, where, or what, so that nobody gets embarrassed. But one of the fellows joined with a Slurpee that he had gotten somewhere with ice in it, and he didn't turn his microphone off.
Oh no!
He sat there for the first 5 minutes crunching ice. Finally, had to say something about the ice, because it sounded like driving a truck over a grate in the road. I mean, it was pretty amazing. But
okay, we're going to give it one more minute. We've got 54 participants.
Okay, good.
And so those that are just joining us, you haven't missed anything. All righty. So I'll go ahead. And as people come in, I have Corey in the background. And so if you send a chat and you're having some computer issues, she can help too. We're up to 57. Okay, so we're gonna do a welcome. Welcome everybody to Tying with Al and Gretchen Beatty. This is a 5-week series. It is set up as a webinar, and those of you that aren't familiar with webinars and Zoom meetings, a webinar is everyone is muted and the videos are off. And so all the three of us can see is each other. And so if you have a question, if you need Al to slow down, if you need a step repeated, if you run your finger across your screen or somehow to bring up the help bar below that says participants, go ahead and send a chat and a Q&A. I'll be monitoring that the whole time. I'm Sandy Carpenter. I'm your moderator and host. I'm Vice Chair of Women Connect, who's sponsoring this tonight. And thank you to FFI and all of its members that support these. Another housekeeping is if you go up to the top right of your screen, you'll see gallery view or speaker view. You want speaker view. And Al will be bringing up a very, very, very nice shot of his fly. When that screen comes up, if you run your arrow or your finger over that screen, you'll see 3 dots at the top, right? There is a spotlight video. And spotlight that video, and it will hold that video whether we're talking or somebody else comes up, so you can see that. And Al will go through the books that he's using. They're available Kindle, they're available in person. Al, you can repeat for those that came in at 6:30 about the binding before you get off. That was a real nice thing to know. If you came in earlier, there was some miscommunication. This is at 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, 6:30 Mountain, 5:30 Pacific, the next 4 Tuesdays. And so if you came in a little early, you did not miss any fly tying. Al was going over some tips. So I welcome everyone. And if you have any issues with hearing us or the fly is fuzzy and we can't see that, please feel free to interact. We still want to make this as interactive as possible, even though we know you're all there, we can't see you. So go ahead, Al and Gretchen.
Well, great. Obviously, I'm Al.
I'm Gretchen.
And Gretchen, if you'll do, and the functions we're serving tonight is I'm the instructor and Gretchen is the IT person taking care of technical stuff, because believe it or not, this Zoom stuff just doesn't happen. It requires a lot of work on Sandy's part. And when Gretchen will be running like crazy in the background, and you won't see it, but she'll be carrying stuff and setting things up, and all kinds of things will be happening in the background. And that's what the IT support person does. So if you'll click on a screen share, Gretchen, let's bring up this guy right here. Yeah. And what we're looking at tonight is we are introducing as a first on this 5 series webinar, the title we're going to call these classes, if you will, are Zoom on the Fly. And that's what we're going to be using from now on. So whenever we talk with people about the process or scheduling our time or whatever, it's for a Zoom on the Fly fly tying clinic. Tonight?
This is in air right there.
I'm sorry?
This is in air right there.
Yeah, it should have been 6:30. Anyway, and the Zoom on the Fly tonight is with Women's Connect and us, BT's Fly Fishing. And it's the Hare's Ear Nymph. And you see a picture of it right there. Now, Gretchen, if you'll move down to the next screen. We'll go a little bit further so we can get the books in there too. Okay, there we go. Whoops, too far. Okay, the Hare's Ear Nymph is featured in 3 of our books, or processes that we're going to cover are in some of the books too. But the beginning fly tying book, chapter 7, page 43, you'll see it on the far left there, is the actual fly that you'll see here tonight. In our book, Easy Trout Flies, chapter 5, page 29, we have an almost identical fly with a different tail and wing case material. And the dubbing techniques that we're going to focus on tonight are from our book, A Dozen Dubbing Techniques, chapter 2, page 15, which is called Pull and Twist, and chapter 8, page 55, called Touch Dubbing. Now, for some of you who got here early, you got to see just a little bit of touch dubbing, but we're going to take it a step farther. And in fact, if you'll cursor down to the next screen, Gretchen. In fact, tonight, our focus might be on the Hare's Ear Nymph fly itself, that's fine. But our real purpose tonight is to take those of you who may not have the very best dubbing skills and maybe offer you at least a couple of new tricks for your bag of tricks. And hopefully you can walk away tonight turning out a better dubbing application on your hook than you have in the past. But tonight on the Hare's Ear Nymph, we're going to use a 2X or 3X long streamer hook. And you can see the sizes are 2 to 18. Can they be bigger and littler? Of course they can, but we typically, most of our Hare's Ear Nymphs fall in the 10 to 14 inch, or the size 10 to 14. We're going to use rusty brown thread. However, when we discuss Lafontaine's theory of attraction, we'll be discussing other options. But anyway, tonight we're going to use rusty brown. The tail is rusty brown Antron yarn or yarn of choice. And I'll show you some other, another one that's a choice, and it was just some plain, now Gretchen, you're going to have to correct me. It's, you go to Walmart and you get Sweetheart yarn, or is it Red Heart? I can't.
Red Heart.
Okay. Anyway, this was a piece of Red Heart yarn that I'll show you a little bit later on one of the flies, and I'll point that out when we get there. In other words, I'm saying you do not have to just do rusty brown Antron or Antron yarn. The dubbing will be Hare's Ear dubbing or color of choice. The rib is going to be rusty brown fly tying thread. The weight is optional, and we'll show you a trick on adding weight to the fly. The wing case is going to be rusty brown Antron yarn. It's going to be, in our case, it says double strand, but we're going to make a triple strand just to show you how you can move into sizes larger than the size 8 we'll have in the vise. Thorax, Hare's Ear dubbing. If you add a bead head, we usually use a 3X long hook when tying the bead head. And we'll talk about that in just in a minute here. And head cement is optional. And I might add that we never ever use head cement or any type of epoxy, whether it's UV or some other kind, when we are doing a fly tying clinic at a show, or when we got several $1,000s worth of camera equipment sitting around, and one spilled piece of glue could be more than a catastrophe for us. But anyway, this is a very easy to tie fly. It's what we call one of our guide flies. All the years that I was a Montana guide, we had about 24 flies that basically I used as my fallback go-to for everything. And this is one of those. So just because it's easy don't mean it doesn't catch fish. It does, and we'll take that a little bit further. Now move down to the next section, which was hooks. It's one of the things that I wanted to talk about here for a minute. Okay. Now you'll notice that we've got 1X, 2X, 3, and 4X. And when I said that I use a 3X or a 4X or whatever, a larger X hook shank, when I'm adding a bead head, here, we'll just take these two right here. Okay, that's the 4X and the 3X. If I were tying a bead head on a 3X hook, I would use a 4X hook because 1X will be used up by the bead, so I'll have a body area the same size as I would have had on the 3X long. Really doesn't make any difference, but that's just one of the things. And though my drawing is pretty bad, you got to understand I'm actually drawing on a computer screen, and it's not easy for some reason. It's a lot easier on paper. But anyway, let me clean these out of here and go down one more. I think that's where we're going to stop for now, and just scroll down there, Greg. Okay, there you go. Yeah, okay, that's the theory of attraction. We'll get to that in a minute. We'll just leave it right there, Gretchen. And if you'll do me a new screen share, let's go to the screen of the materials. Okay, just to give you an idea, when I said Antron body wool for my body, what we're looking at is a product by Lower Flash, and it's an Antron body wool, and what we've got right here is the kind of the rusty brown color. And then I have a packet of soft touch dubbing. It's a dubbing that we produce. In this particular case, the one I have here at this workstation is kind of a cream color. The hare's ear is over at the fly tying vise, and we'll be going there in just a moment. But just so you kind of have an idea, I want you to notice what I've done here is I have partially pulled the bundle out of the pouch. That's you're going to see why here in just a minute. That's a really important maneuver. But anyway, Gretchen, if you'll do me a new share and go to the vise. Okay, Sandy, can you see the fly?
It looks great, Al.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure that we hadn't lost it somewhere here. And let me make sure that we're kind of in the center. Okay, good. I'll lay this pencil down. Okay, now what you're looking at here is not the fly we're tying tonight. It is in fact what we call a focus fly. And we use it, we set it in the vise. And the reason we use it for focusing is because I think if you look very, very closely, you can see that we have very definite segments in the body. And of course, we've got the different strands of hair. And when I didn't realize it when I tied the focus fly, there's a couple of hairs that didn't want to get with the program. So I trimmed them off, but I didn't do a very good job. And those actually turned out to be really good focus points. So that's why you're seeing this fly right here. So I'm going to move out of here for right now. And we're going to pick up a 2X long size 8 streamer hook. Really, this can be tied on just about anything that you want. And we're going to start with some rusty brown tying thread. I want you to notice something here right now. I pulled it out, but you notice this, this rubber grommet right here? Well, what we do when we're traveling is we pull our thread down. Okay, we pull our thread down and slip it over the thread and put it right back on there so that when we get to the show, our thread hasn't come out of the tube. Now that's a trick that we got from Leroy Hyatt in Lewiston, Idaho here a while back. So now I'm going to just pull this out and we're going to go ahead and wrap.
Size and brand of thread.
Oh, size and brand of thread. Thank you, Gretchen. Okay, we use Danville on everything. This is size 6.0. Today, most companies refer to it by denier. This is 70 denier, and it's served us well for more than 40 years, and we see no reason to change. That doesn't mean there aren't a lot of other good threads out there. It's just the one that we're going to work with tonight. Now I'll start at about a position 1/3 back from the hook eye, and that, or you could say at the 40% back from the hook eye mark. We got 60% will be body, and the front part will be the thorax, and just stop it right there. Now we're gonna get a piece of our Antron body wool, and I'm gonna just slip off camera while I cut that out of there.
Okay, Al,
Yeah.
we had a note from a participant that said you have the focus box dialogue still in the picture. It doesn't interfere with the fly, but it is down at the bottom.
Just click down here, Gretchen. Just click over here.
Thank you, Ken.
Okay, okay, good. It's out of the way. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, now I've cut off a piece of this Antron, and I am going to double it back over itself, just like that, and tie that on at the 40% mark back from the hook eye. We'll just bind that in place, wrap back about halfway to the end of the shank and stop, and then come back forward. Now what I'm going to do is pull off and cut off this one waist. Don't throw it away, but I want you to notice that I'm setting it so that the ends, I can bind them in place, but they don't reach all the way back to the cutoff point.
Yep. And how long
What
of
I'm
a
doing
piece did you start with?
I started out with a piece that was, it was about 8 inches long, and then I doubled it over.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Now I'm going to wrap the rest of the way back to the end of the shank and then back forward. Now, what I'm going to do is kind of pull this around so that the loop and the extra is sticking kind of in the middle of the loop, if you can see that. Tip that over so you can see it. Now, what I'm doing there, the reason I tied it in the way I did, let me grab my pencil for a minute and explain. If you'll recall, let me get over here for that. We started the thread here. We wrapped the first one back to here and cut it off. And then we started the second application here. What we're doing is building a slightly larger taper at the front of the body area than it is towards the back. What that does is gives us a little bit of the profile of the abdomen. And one of the things, if you don't do that, you're going to end up with a fly that looks, it's out of balance is what the best way to call it. But let me get these marks off the screen now. Okay. Now, careful, I'm moving back to the vise, and I got tangled up in a cord here. So let me push that cord aside. Okay, now if the tail is equal to the width of the hook gap. Well, there are a lot of different ways you can come up with that. One way is to take a bodkin and use it as a measuring device and then hold it up there to measure. That works. You can take your scissors and use it as a caliper and go around to get the length, or you can do what we do. The hook is already there, just use it. And there's the tail. It'll always be equal to the gap of the hook because that's what we use to actually do our measurement. Okay, now we're going to get ready to dub. Now to put the dubbing on, I'm going to have to move the hook to the left so that I've got some room to actually dub on my thread. Let's see if that goes to the left. I should be able to go to the left and still maintain focus. And we don't care about the tail right now, but I'm going to stop right about there. And what we're going to do now is bring our thread out to the side. Now we're going to talk about dubbing wax. We're going to be using our dubbing wax. BT's tacky wax is what I'm using. We have two formulas, tacky and super tacky. We originally made the tacky wax when Overton's Wonder Wax went off the market. And we were really frustrated because that was a really good wax and we just couldn't get it anymore. So Gretchen spent the better part of a couple of years going through a whole lot of different formulas until she came up with this. We thought it was pretty good, and we knew that Gary Lafontaine often used Overton's, and so we sent him a sample. He called up and he says, boy, Al, this is some of the best stuff there is, but could you make it 15% stickier? So tacky wax is Al, super tacky is Gary. So you can figure out from there, we have both available. Anyway, for now, what I'm going to do, I want you to notice that the wax is not very far up above the tube. That's really important that you not get it too far up, or you'll have lumps of wax coming off on your thread, and you don't want that. So now we're just going to make the thread sticky. And what you're going to see now is a method of touch dubbing, a little different than I showed a few minutes ago when we were doing just some practice techniques before everyone signed on. Notice that the dubbing is pulled part of the way out of the bag, but not all of the way. The reason I do that, so many people I see trying to do the touch dubbing method, they grab okay, so many people try to take a bundle out, hold it in their hands, and they try to hold it in a death grip. Well, it's not going to come out. It needs to have the ability to have the sticky wax pull the dubbing. And now we've got the dubbing out there so that we can just kind of touch it to the thread and allow the sticky thread to pull the fibers out of the bundle. Now there you can see that we've got it on there. Now I'm going to twist this dubbing in a clockwise direction. And now we're going to talk about what that direction means here in just a minute, but let me get it twisted all the way down here to the end. We are going in a clockwise direction if we're looking down from the top onto the thread. And the reason that we do that, I know a lot of other tyers probably have other ways to keep this from happening, but we discovered that if we twist the other way and we wrap our dubbing on the hook, it kept coming undone. It would get loose. So we'd make 2 wraps, twist, twist, twist in the dubbing, then 2 more wraps and twist. And you'll find that you will not have to stop and twist when you do this, because we continually tighten as we wrap, because we're going in a clockwise direction around the hook. Now I want you to notice that I did this by design, that we would run out of dubbing just as we get to the back of the hook. Well, now we remember in the recipe that we use the rusty colored thread for our rib. So now I'm just going to go back forward from the back, going forward with each subsequent turn closer to the front, adding the rib. This is what we call a commercial tires speed trick, if you will, and it just makes for some really fast tying. You notice that when in the recipe, we did not say gold ribbed hare's ear, we said hare's ear. Now, this particular fly is just about the only nymph that we carry in our fly boxes, and it's in every color and size from about size 8 down to 20, and black, brown, hare's ear, olive, and several other colors. I just can't think of them all right now. I'm sorry, what? Okay, yeah, Gretchen says now it's time for me to move the fly back, and she's right. Okay, here we go. Whoops, wrong way. Okay, is that about in the center, Gretch? A little bit more? Okay, good. Yeah, I have to rely on Gretchen, because from where I'm sitting, my close-up reading glasses don't work worth a darn. So anyway, now we're going to wrap a small thread dam here in front of that future wing case, and it still doesn't want to stay out of my way. Well, there's a little thing that you won't find at the fly shop, but maybe some of you ladies will recognize it, and it's called a hair clip. There, things will stay out of the way now, because I'm going to pull this thread back out of the way as well, and we're going to add our lead wire, and we're going to show you a trick on lead wire. When I say lead wire, I really mean non-lead wire. We don't even keep the lead wire around. We want to make the turns of wire consistently the same on all flies that we tie in this size, and we have found that if we use a hook shank as our measurement tool, that works out about right. Now I want you to notice that I am grasping that lead wire with the rotating hackle pliers. And now we'll get back to that. We'll just place that right there and start wrapping forward. And when I hit the end, it just pulls right out of that hackle pliers. And now we have one more, and I keep a separate pair of scissors for this kind of work, and it's for trimming off the wire. So we haven't thrown any wire away at all. It's strictly exactly what we needed is what we pulled off and used. Now I'm going to get some brown floss out here, and we're just going to kind of wrap this in place, smooth things up so that when we apply our dubbing, okay. I want you to notice that I make really wide turns when I go over those first turns of wire. That's because if you try to do close together turns, it just falls down into the cracks in the wire. But if you do wide open turns, you can kind of cover all that up, and then you can just, there we go, leave that hang right there. You can not have it all fall in under the lead. Now I'm just going to pull that floss back and wrap forward with my thread, binding the floss in place. Now I'll just set the floss down. One of the things that I forgot to do, which I religiously do, except when I got cameras all around me, is I put the lid back on the wax. And you know where I knocked it? It's called the wastebasket. My wax will be in really great shape come tomorrow, let me tell you what. Whew. Anyway, so let's trim off the waste of the floss, and we're going to get ready to dub again. Now you've already seen how we dubbed this touch dubbing. This time I'm going to move back again, and we're going to talk about pull and twist. In fact, I can probably get rid of the little clip. Yeah, we've done enough work there in front. It's pushed it back pretty good. We'll pull that back a little bit. And now pulling and twisting is the technique that most fly tyers learn their first time out of the box. And it's an incredibly good way. And in fact, some never go any further. And what you do to pull and twist is, let me pull the thread down here. As you pull off what you think is a small amount of dubbing, let me hold that up there. And I don't know if you can see that or not, but many people think that that's a small amount of dubbing. And the truth of the matter is that's about enough. If you're tying a size 14 size fly, you got enough dubbing there to cover probably three flies, size 14. And what the people do then is that they twist it in place. Okay, and if they get it twisted in place pretty good, as you can see, we have a pretty good sized application on there. And it's, then we'll put another one on. And let's twist it in place. And then you end up with a series of humps and valleys. And it's really tough to wrap a good body when you have an uneven application of dubbing. So let's just pull that off and we'll start over. And this time we're going to use what we really should be using, a very, very small amount. And the pull and twist method works very, very well when you don't try to put all the dubbing on the hook in one spot. And we'll pull off a little bit more. But you notice the little pinches that I'm taking off of there are very, very little. And let's see, let me take a look at the screen. Yeah, you can see now that's a nice smooth application. And if you start out with a smooth application on your thread, you're going to end up with it on the fly as well. And we're starting in right back there at the back side of that lead wire. Now, another way to pull and twist is using wax. And we find that that's an easy way for us to do. And of course, I'll tell you right up front, we sell dubbing wax. So would I tell you anything else? Probably not.
Now, Al, where would we purchase your dubbing wax?
We have it online at our website, btsflyfishing.com. And if you're in Colorado area and you know Charlie Craven, he stocks, he buys it by the case. So he's got lots of it. Now here's another way to pull and twist, but we're just going to pull little bitty tiny pieces off. That's too much. And we'll just touch it to the thread. Well, it's going to stay there because the wax will hold it. And we'll pull another little piece and put it on there. And some more. And we'll just keep adding that as we need, working our way down there. And as you can see, the wax holds it there and it makes it pretty easy to work with. Now let me twist that in place. And we'll continue wrapping. Now I want you to notice that I've got a lot of dubbing left and I ended up at the front. And I did that on purpose because one of the things on my thorax is that I want it kind of bigger in the center than I do on the ends. Personal preference. I don't know if that's the right way or not, but what I'm going to do now is bring this forward the last turns so that I end up in front of the dub body. Okay, I'll just let that hang there, and just temporarily, I'm going to take my half hitch tool, which is really nothing more than a knitting needle that's been hollowed out. I used an electric drill very carefully so I didn't hurt me, and hollowed out the end so that it would work as my tool. Now what I'm going to do here is move this spare one right down through the loop, pull it forward and anchor it in place. Now you only have to do that when you're doing sizes 8 and larger, because you'll find a double or even just a single strand will work just fine when you get into the really smaller sizes. Now, one of the things that I want you to notice, I'm going to tighten up the thread and pull up on that strand, because I want that tie-in point to be slightly back from the one that I'm going to do now when I pull the other strands forward. Now, what they do is they fall on both sides, and what I get is a nice wide application on my wing case.
We had a question.
You bet.
Patty Bantam wanted you to repeat something, but I don't know. Patty, would you type what you wanted repeated? Was it a part in the tie, or I'm not sure what you wanted Al to repeat. I'll wait for her to send the question back. And that'll give everybody a chance to catch up for a second.
Okay, I'll move that back to the center. Anyway, for those of you out there, while we're waiting, you can see that it makes a nicely spread out wing case, where if I had taken all 3 strands and just pulled them forward, it would have been a more narrow but thicker, if you understand what I'm saying, a more narrow but thicker wing case.
Deeper wing case.
Oh, there you go. Gretchen says deeper wing case. Thank God
So-
I have an English teacher here to help me out.
So the question was, she wanted you to repeat bringing the antron through the loop. Just repeat that step. Just verbally repeat it.
I'll verbally repeat that, yes.
Thank
But
you.
I can't do that because I've already cut it off.
Yep.
Okay, but what I did is that let's pretend that this tool right here was behind the loop, and it was that 3rd strand. So what I did is that I pulled it through, then tied it forward by itself.
Tip that a little more.
Tilt it a little bit more and pull that down out of the
There you
way.
go.
Does that work? Okay, and then that, now when we bring the loop forward, we're having the loop, can you see that, Gretch? The loop goes on either side of that center one that we just pulled forward. Now we're actually slightly forward of that original tie-in point of that first strand. And what that's going to do is we're going to be able to build a nice small head. And we would not have been able to do it if we'd have pulled all 3 strands forward. We'd have been tying them all down at the same time. And I'll guarantee you getting a nice small head would not have been a very easy thing to do. Now what I'm going to do is cut this, and then I'm going to spread these fibers out a bit, just so that they get, I'm sure that they're spread out really good. And then I'll get ready to trim off.
So why do you spread them out?
I spread them out so that when I make my trims, I'm not cutting the whole works. I want the trim to be nice and even, but I'm only cutting out a few at a time. And if I left the loop there, it's kind of hard to do. And now we'll just go ahead and finish our head. Okay, now one of the things we're going to talk about on our whip finish, there's good whip finishes and bad whip finishes. And in fact, we wrote an article for Fly Tire magazine about that in the recent past. And I'm going to put on a bad one first, and it's going to be kind of hard to explain. You may not be able to see, but Gretchen, maybe you'll, if you'll move these pictures aside, and now take the, just click up here and bring the green up there, click right in the middle. Okay, now you need to pull all those pictures clear down and hit the plus sign a couple times. One more. Too much. Back it off one. Okay, good. What we've done now is we've zoomed in, and we might be able to see this. We used a different kind of an illustration in the magazine. But what we're doing here, I'm going to put on a bad one, and I see an awful lot of people do this. The thread is at the hook eye. And we're going to get ready to wrap. First turn right at the hook eye, second turn a little bit behind that one, third turn a little bit behind that one, and continuing as we climb the hill to the back side of the head. Now what I want you to notice, let's see, can they see this? Pull it out this way? Okay, as I pull this tight, I want you to notice that there's a single strand of thread laying over the top of that head. Mm-hmm. What the proper way to do it is to start back where the thread is now, at the back of the head. Okay, and what we're going to do is place each subsequent turn closer to the hook eye, starting at the back of the head. Okay, first turn, second turn closer, closer to the eye, closer to the eye, closer to the eye, the last one right at the eye. Now when we pull it through, it pulls through and disappears under all four turns rather than laying on top of them. And it will last a heck of a lot longer, especially if a snaggletooth brown jumps on your fly. But anyway, there you have one of our guides prints, or guides hare's ear. Now it's really important to understand. Let's see, let me move this over just a little bit. No, the other way. There we go. that this particular color is it's a little too bright. Take the green square, move on top, and click on it. Just click. There you go. All right, good. Now you can click back down below if you want to and get the green out of there. All right, that lightens it up. Just move it back up there and leave it there. Okay. This fly can be changed to any color that we want. And now we're going to talk about the Lafontaine theory of attraction. And Gretchen, I need you to do a new screen for me. And,
we had a question.
Okay, before we...
Oh, go ahead.
No, before. Okay, Gretchen, just X out of that and we'll wait. Okay, the question is?
Why just such a small piece of lead in front?
Well, that's quite frankly because I got a camera between me and my work, and that's about all I could handle and still be able to see what I was doing. The truth of the matter is I sometimes make a really heavy body, but this one is this is a show and tell more than maybe the one I would have on the water. That's a good question though.
And then we had somebody that wanted to see the whip finish again by seeing the tool, but I think we might be too late for that.
I can put a hook in the vise if that's all right with everybody, and I'll use some wider thread and maybe that'll show up better. Let's put a hook in the vise. And let's see, maybe some orange floss will do the job better.
And we need to move the focus box down again.
Okay. All right. Now I'm just going to attach this orange floss. Let me see, how does that show up? That shows up pretty good.
Yep.
You say I need to focus?
Why did that happen?
Okay, there you go. Right.
Oh, I have to have this on it to do that.
I'm sorry? Okay. Okay, I'll just trim off the waist. And whoops, too quick. Now, I'm going to pretend at this point in time that where I've wrapped to right here, I'll just bring the bobbin up there, is the front of the head. We still have room there, but we're going to have to show the other one. When we start at this point and wrap back, each turn getting further from the front of the head from the previous, we end up with, does that show?
Yep.
Okay, we end up with the thread not going under the strands, but one part of the strand is laying on top and then it goes under. So you have a single strand laying on top. Now what we do here is I'm going to wrap forward to the hook eye, and now we're going to put on a traditional head. And what we do is we start at the back of the head. I think that shows up. Okay, good. We start at the back of the head, and now each subsequent turn is closer to the hook eye. Until you can see that it's not even as wide of a loop now, because the whole thing is going to disappear under all 4 turns of thread. But so much for that. Did that answer your question out there in Zoom land?
Yes.
Okay, good. Now we're back to this to the fly, and we're going to talk about the Lafontaine theory of attraction. Now, if you'll do me a screen, let's see, where in the heck is, right here. I think it's that one. Yep, the theory of attraction. And you'll find in Gary's book, chapter 21 on page 110, it was, let's see, what was that? No, that's our book, Gary's LaFontaine's Legacy, chapter 21, page 110. And the Dry Fly New Angles is a book Gary wrote in the early 90s. In chapter 10, page 195, he devotes a whole chapter to what I am going to share with you in the next 3 or 4 sentences. Bottom line is he talks about the color and angle of light, a whole bunch of stuff that I just flat don't understand. But it boils down to the fact that you want to put a color in your fly that's reflected by the environment. Example, we live in Idaho. Central Idaho is alpine forests with lots of really beautiful streams up there. Alpine forests are green, and if you have green in your fly, you're fishing. If you don't, you're kind of wasting your time.
Red, if you have red, you're in trouble. If you have red, you're in trouble.
Oh, yeah, if you have red, you're in trouble. Or orange is another one. I mean, yeah, you'll catch a few fish, but it's more in the really fast water where the fish don't have a chance to look at it. On the flip side, when we lived in Colorado, the Gunnison River was a heck of a fishery, but it was in this desert canyon. Basically, it was just a rusty orange colored canyon walls. And I'll guarantee you, if you didn't have orange in your fly, you weren't fishing. And if you took one of those Idaho flies with green in them, you had about as much luck with it as you did the orange ones in central Idaho. So there's a lot more to it than that. But in our book, starting on page 110, is the Lady Heather double wing. And there's a whole bunch of different colors that Gary developed, and each one of them was for different light conditions to support his theory of attraction. And that's another one of those things we talked about earlier, the double magic technique that we shared with some of the people before the start of the session, where we had antron fibers sticking out of the dove body all around, or the peacock body all around. And what it did is provided highlights, and the color of the dubbing that you highlight the peacock is what you want to use a color that's driven by the environmental around you. Now, one of the things you really have to look out for, and we learned this in Colorado on the Gunnison, you needed to have orange of some color in your fly because of the rusty canyon walls, but there were several side streams that would come into that Gunnison River that when you would wade upstream, you were wading into an area that was basically overgrown with willows and trees, and you had walked out of the orange environment and into a whole new environment with a lot of green in it. And those Idaho flies with green in them work really well. So you really need to look at the color of light, the color of the environment, and make your fly selections accordingly. And the other day, one of the ladies from the local women's organization, her name is Jane, was at the house, and we were talking about the theory of light and Lafontaine's attraction. And she said that she had been guided by Kelly Gallup on the Madison River in Montana. And that when the golden hour, just before the sun goes down, hit the water, he had her change the fly from the one they had on to a yellow woolly bugger and just nailed fish after fish after fish. Well, guess what color the light was? So we'll go from there. Now, what we need to do is go a little bit further down, Gretchen. Okay, we promised that we would share our method of shooting a Zoom session. I cannot tell you how many emails that I've received on that. And Gretchen, what I need now is a new share. And where in the heck, click right there. There we go. Okay, what we have right now is, that's a macro focusing rail. You'll find them on eBay all over the place for somewhere between $40 and $50. And you'll need one of these. And what that will allow you to do, let me grab my pencil. What that will allow you to do is with this knob right here, we can move the unit side to side. And there's another knob on the other side, you can't see it, but you will in a minute, that allows us to move back and forth so that we can adjust focus and based on the size of the fly and so forth. Now let me get all that stuff out of here. Okay, let me get rid of that. Okay, you should come up here with your cursor. Okay, hit the arrow. Okay. Now that's sure taking forever to focus, isn't it? There we go, it's in focus. This is our actual vice camera, we'll call it. And let me get back here with my pencil. Okay, now the vice is right here with the fly. You can see the camera here. And what we've done is we had to get rid of the tripod that used to be down here holding the camera. Because I'll guarantee you, at the worst possible moment, you're going to kick that tripod and your camera either goes helter-skelter or at the very least, it's knocked out of the line. So what I did is that I got a 1x6 piece of wood and just C-clamped it to my tying bench. And then I put a couple of blocks of wood here at the back to mount the focusing rail on so the camera can be set up there to move back and forth side to side. And you saw us moving it side to side tonight. Well, now what I'm able to do is I can slide right up to the camera. My legs are under the camera itself, and I'm able to work semi-normally, where before we were standing 3 foot behind the thing trying to lean out over the camera, and it was a real killer. Now, the other thing we need to point out here is we have a number of lights. Here's another one right here, and you can't see it back here, but there's this one right here that goes up to a stand. That light provides a halo around the fly that provides separation from the background and the stuff from the foreground. But you need to have plenty of light. And the reason we have 2 lights per side is how many times have you tried to do a video of fly tying as an example, and every time you move your hand into the frame to tie on a material, the fly gets dark on one side or the other. Well, that's because you don't have enough light. Okay, go to the next one there, would you please, Gretchen? Oh, here, let me get rid of this. Let me get rid of that. Annotate. Okay, now there you go. Okay, this is the other workstation that we have. It's about it's 3 foot to the right of the one you just saw. And this is the one where we talked briefly about materials. In fact, I forgot to take all those markings off the screen, so let me get those off. Okay, we got all those off. And what we have back here is just the materials like we showed you before. We didn't need the material station much, but next week 2 weeks from now, when we get into a woven fly and we start selecting hackle for folding hackle, we'll be using that quite a bit. But anyway, it's a totally separate camera focused on another station that I've got an arm here. It doesn't show up too good, but there's an arm here that I bought at Harbor Freight. It's used for holding different tools and parts when you're welding, but it works really well for holding materials when you're tying flies too. Let me clean this up. Okay, let me get rid of that. And the last frame. And the last frame, this is just the cords that run the lights. So you can see there's a few cords, and we have an equal number of other cords that connect the camera to the computer. And then we have microphones and headsets and all this kind of stuff hooked up as well. But anyway, Gretchen, you can unshare that. And the last item, I guess we're kind of at the end, except for one thing. We'd like to offer Zoom on the fly to fly tying clubs out there. You can find our website, btsflyfishing.com, and you can get a message to us that way. Please don't send text messages. I don't type worth a darn with one finger on a cell phone. So I do a lot better on a real computer. So please send some kind of a message either through our email address or you'll get us the same way through the website. But that's about all we've got for now. And I guess we go to questions, huh?
Yep, if people have questions, send it through the Q&A. What fly are we tying next week?
Oh yeah, we need to do another screen share, Gretch.
Let's do a commercial for that. And is that coming out of another book?
Yep, it sure is. It's
okay. Let's do a commercial for that.
Well, I can't do that right now.
Okay.
Unfortunately, let's see what I got here.
And we do have a couple questions too when you're ready for those.
I can't find that right now, but anyway, okay. What it's going to be is, just click that X. What the fly next week will be is a Wonder Wing fly. It's a dry fly. It'll be an Adams version of a Wonder Wing, but what we'll show you how to do is to take some big old junky hackle that is the top end of the cape that you only can tie so many woolly buggers. And what we'll do is show you how to turn that into delicate dry fly wings. And there are personal choice for wings these days, rather than picking through a hen cape or a rooster cape looking for hackle point wings. We just make them with Wonder Wings.
And the book that's out of?
Wonder Wings.
Wonder Wing book also.
Yeah, it's How to Tie Wonder Wings, and it's on Amazon.com.
And the question is your camera output to your computer USB or HDMI?
I've done both. These are all USB, and it seems to work pretty good. One of the things that we do find that caused us some trouble is we cannot have the television going when the cameras are going because our television comes to us via a streaming service, Netflix and stuff like that. So we just don't have a good enough internet Wi-Fi to handle the two cameras. And in fact, I was on with a friend, Wayne Llewellyn, the other day, and we had some trouble because the TV was on and I was trying to run a third camera on top of the television. That really didn't work. So anyway, you need to make sure that if you're having a bad experience with Zoom, that number one is your television running. And if you won't be killed by the wife and kids for turning it off while you do your Zoom, then so be it. Other than that, you can call whomever provides your Wi-Fi and get a faster one.
And then another question, if they're looking for this Zoom on the fly, how are they getting a hold of you for that?
Through our website. It's so new, it's not even on the website right now. So you go to the website to send us a text message and, or not a text,
Email.
please, an email, no text.
Give them
Just-
your email address.
Oh, the email address. Yeah. Why don't you do another screen share and I'll type the email address up there for them.
Thank you.
Screen share. And go to this one right here. All right, now let's just scroll up a little bit so I can get there. Good, right there. Now let's put it right here. Darn thing, it keeps trying to change the non-capital letters to.
Yeah, ALBEATTY2@gmail.com.
Yeah, and I just increase the size there a little bit. You can do that, and that'll get a hold of us.
Put the website up.
Thank you, Cece.
Do what?
Website.
Oh, the website. Okay, let me.
There you go.
Okay, and that's btsflyfishing.com is the website. So you can get a hold of us through lbt2@gmail.com or go to the website and then there's a little contact hyperlink at the top of the page and that takes us to the same email.
And the books are available on Amazon, hard copy, Kindle version.
Yes.
And Al had a good tip that you can get them spiral bound.
Yes, you can. You can get them if you buy them from us. We'll just spiral bind them for $5 at the time you purchase them, if we've got them in stock. If not, you get one from Amazon, or you don't even have to have our books. If you've got a book that you want to have spiral bound, take it to Staples. Yeah, Staples will do it, and it's between $8 and $10 depending on the size of the book and the number of pages, all that stuff.
And we have 2 raised hands. Maybe they're saying goodbye.
Okay.
Or if you have a question, put it in the chat or put it in the Q&A. Otherwise, maybe they're leaving.
Well, I guess we're good to go, huh?
All right. So next week, for those of
Barbara
you,
Osaka, more information on Red Hard yarn, please. Go to the craft section at Walmart or any yarn store, and Red Heart is the most common knitting yarn you'll find.
and it's inexpensive.
Very. Yeah,
And
like, go ahead.
And the clips you can buy at the dollar store, the hair clips. You don't need to go to a beauty salon and buy them for $10.
We have them for sale at the fly shop for 15.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And we're getting a lot of thanks. All right. So next week again, double
6:30
check the
next
time.
week. Yep.
6:30 Mountain Time.
And it'll be Wonder Wings. It'll be a really nice dry fly. Like this nymph, you'll find this dry fly will serve all of your dry fly needs when it comes to the mayfly type imitation.
And then next week, I'll talk to Gretchen and Al Beatty, and we can put up a poll at the end. And so save your questions or your comments, or if we can do it better, if there's something you'd like to see, we can add that at the end at the poll, or put it in your Q&A. And I can run that at the end. And so, or send it to Al's email and say, I need to see your whip finish tool or something. So this is very interactive, and we'd love to hear your comments. So feel free. Oh, what materials for the fly next week so I can tie along. Terry, would you, the materials would be posted on Fly Fishers International Women Connect Facebook. We also send out personal emails. And so if you would send your email to womenconnect@flyfishersinternational.org, we send out the invite and a list of materials. And they're also on the flyfishersinternational.org website. There's a sheet there that actually we have all the materials for all the weeks except last week is going to be a surprise.
No, the last week actually is going to be a Hare wing gray wolf.
Okay.
And next week, because it takes a very specific kind of hair to do a good job in tying a real Hare wing fly, we'll have a short class next week after the regular class on how to select the hair that you need, so you've got plenty of time to get it for the 5th week.
All right.
We've got let's answer that question about the jerky video. Let's start with you, Sandy. Was yours jerky?
I was just going to read that. And what happened was, I think your internet speed and the feed and Al's, it's the feed coming through. So it looks like when you're whip finishing, and sometimes it gets better. And so if you're just patient, and sometimes there's a lag in what you're saying. And I think that's just Zoom capability right now and our internet speed. And we're finding that with some of ours.
So a lot of people were experiencing that.
Mine went in and out, but not bad.
Okay, well, we'll look into getting a, okay, this Corrine to all panelists, not at all must mean she didn't have it. One of the things we're finding that there's 2 internet speeds that we're dealing with. We have our internet speed, and then you're on the receiving end. If you got a television playing and you're streaming a new Netflix video and trying to do this at the same time, you're going to have a bad deal.
Right. And if my computer is upstairs and further away from my device, I actually have a booster that I bought on Amazon, and that helped with my speed. But if I'm closer to my box, it seems to make a difference, and not a floor away or out on the deck or outside trying to watch it. My quality definitely goes down the further away I get.
And what we do with ours is connected in. I don't know if you know anything about it, but Category 5 cable is anyway. It's a high-speed internet cable, and we cable ours direct. We don't use wireless.
Yeah, the wireless will get jerky. All right, that was all good feedback.
Yes, thank you to everyone for feedback. Any future feedback, take a look at our books at Amazon. We appreciate anybody that appreciate comments on that as well.
Okay, we'll see you next week.
Look forward to it. Good night, guys.